Good morning, folks. Welcome to Something More Than Gibberish, episode 79, featuring Ray Jane, none other than Ray Jane. This lady is amazing. She's so involved in the poetry community, both online and in person. She moderates workshops with groups like Art Defined and the Oyé Group Poets Corner. She hosts live mics at the Nuyorican Poets Café and The Word Is Right. She performs lives as a feature at groups like MLK Poetry Slam. She runs a podcast with Black Siren Radio and Sound Minds. And none the least, she's also a published author of a book titled Black Like That. What a title. Ray Jane's in the room, so I'm going to quieten up and bring her up into the room so we can get this show started. Ray Jane, if you want to put in a request to come up, I will bring you up and let's get this show on the road. So looking forward to this. Is well loved. Her work is well loved.
Hi.
Hello, Ray Jane. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you for agreeing to feature on the show. Very much looking forward to hearing all about you, your journey in writing, and hearing your work. And welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much for inviting me, for thinking of me and extending the invitation. I'm honored to be with you and have the chance to share. It's been a while since I've shared anything, so it feels good to shake off some of those old dust off the shoulders a little.
I've got to thank people like Miss Betty, Jane from Spoken Word and all. They're the ones who said you've got to speak to Ray Jane, and that's when I reached out to you. I have actually heard you, I think, on Jane's Spoken Word, and might have heard you also on the Zoom sessions that are run by Gifted Johnson, Wilkinson,
Oh, yes.
and Mr. Witz. Unfortunately, I changed jobs about 2 years ago, and the work demands, because I'm currently 14 hours ahead of EST. So your nighttime is my work day.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So I haven't been able to attend a lot of those lives. But anyway, here we are. Maybe tell us a bit about how did your journey in writing start off, Ray Jane? What are your motivators?
Oh my gosh. I've been writing my entire life. Probably since I could write, I've been rhyming just for fun because it was funsies when I was a little kid. And then my mom used to work for a legal aid society in New York, and we didn't have money like that. So sometimes she would take me to work when she wasn't supposed to. They didn't have any place for childcare. And at my young age, I still kind of was aware of that, that my mom could get in trouble for bringing me with her to work. So I used to write little poems for her colleagues and the lawyers that she would report to so that they would be okay with her and be her friend. So it's funny because some of her friends still work there and they still have some of those old poems from when I was 8 or 9 years old, which is really cool.
How cool is that? Yeah. Well, you clearly made an impact, your writing even at that young age, right? For it to be there now, hanging on a prominent place, that's...
So, I hope so. I guess they liked it, right? They didn't throw... They didn't put in the circular file immediately, so that's good.
Yeah.
And I think from there, I think writing in high school was a way for me to spend time with myself when I would get kind of lonely and maybe didn't feel like I was as safe to share how I really felt about things. It was, an escape. The one place I felt I had privacy was in my writing. In high school, I did my first open mic in high school. So that was interesting, in the library of high school. And I think that added an aspect to poetry for me, the performance aspect that I hadn't really thought about as much. Of course, I would recite my little poems when I was younger, but not on any stage. So I think that kind of gave me a little taste of what it was like to share amongst other people who were open to hearing. But I think I kind of tucked that away, as I'm a nerd. So I really just got into school and really, like, okay, what are we going to do to make money so we could take care of ourselves and our parents, at some point. So I went to med school. And in med school, you really are challenged in many different ways, and you really have to come face to face with yourself before you can face anybody else and whatever they're facing. So I think that forced me to kind of get back into writing, specifically my last year of med school, because that's kind of a lighter year. It's like the last time it's light in your life ever. It's your last year of med school, and one of my homegirls wanted to go do some speed dating business, and I wasn't into that, but the place that they were doing it at had a cover band and an open mic, and I think we were like the only people in there, and they were playing old school songs, and they were just so shocked that we knew them because, our parents have ruined us from the beginning, so we know what real music was. So we're singing it song for song, and then my friend is like, she's a poet. So they pulled me up, and then I ended up, going periodically. And they were like, come up, and their keyboardist, I remember being the first person to even talk to me about copywriting.
Yeah.
And he is like, you have to copyright your stuff, I know you're still working on your craft, but what you got is pretty good and people will steal,
Yeah.
He was like, steal from me? I ain't barely writing anything. That's crazy, So, but I think, yeah. And I think I lost myself for a while. And I think if I'm writing or not is a good gauge on how connected I am to myself. Over the years, I've noticed when I'm not writing, and I don't mean like all of us hit a wall sometimes, right? You want to write, you just can't write, and you're just like, oh my God, do I suck now? Oh my God, right? Where'd the mojo go, right? But I mean more so when you're focused on other people around you, and the work that I do is caretaking work. So it's very much energy out and not necessarily energy back in. Right. And so a lot of times when catastrophes also happen too in life, I've noticed at the end of it, when all the dust settles, you're left with yourself, right? And whatever you've left of yourself. Right? So, that's happened a few times in life. And I think COVID for a lot of us was a lot of that. I think being a doctor during COVID also was a unique experience, and it was isolating in so many ways. Right? A lot of people were isolated from each other, but I didn't get to be isolated because of the work that I did. And while all the rest of the world was a ghost town, I still had to go to work and still had to give, right? And become, and, my focus in medicine is end of life care.
Yeah.
So you can imagine, COVID happens, the end of life care clinicians become everybody's call, right? We go from being consult service to everybody in the whole hospital needs us.
Yeah.
And finally sees, the worth for what we do, right? But then that's even more absorbing to do now, right?
Yeah.
So that forced me back into my pen and to find community specifically with that. And that's how I joined the Nuyo in that community. We called ourselves the Pandemic Poets at that time when everybody was on Zoom. And that's how a lot of us found ourselves again through finding each other. And I think that experience gave me so much confidence and reminded me how important writing is to me and how important it is just as human beings, how powerful poets are, how we can move more than just a room if we decide to do something together.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really amazing, and getting to see all these people who believe so much in their art that they want to just be artists. And I've used that word just, I'm trying to get that out of my vocabulary because I think it's minimizing. But I thought it was wonderful to see people have the courage to do just what they love, and to really see people do it on a professional level and get to learn, how do I present myself properly? How do I make sure I'm honoring the people who choose to honor me? And how do I also still have fun with this while I'm also sharpening my iron, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there is iron to sharpen, right? And even just coming to that realization in community was really beautiful. So
You said something that's so profound. How we are writing shows us how connected we are to ourselves. That is so true. Because I find when I'm disconnected, when I'm stressed through work pressures or, as you said, calamities in life or stuff that happens within our societies or on a global platform, you get involved in that. Or if you're going through a personal crisis as well, and then the other thing you just said, the importance of writing, that is so true, because if I was just to talk to you on the street or at a cafe, I couldn't just pour out my inner feelings to you, right? You're going to think, who is this lunatic? Did I pay him for some counseling service or something, right? But if I put it in a written word and expose it, people can read it if they choose to, and they can absorb what they wish or disregard it, right? It's not forced upon them. So that writing, I think, I find it therapeutic as well, because when I've got a crisis in my life, I've got 100 thoughts, but 80 of them are probably irrelevant. Right? But writing it puts what's in focus down on paper, and then it just helps to clear away the rubbish, the noise, and let me focus on the true essence of what I'm facing. So,
Absolutely.
you know, now, end of life care, that would demand quite a lot of emotional control as well, because you're dealing with constantly in your day at work, you're dealing with sadness, with the losses, with seeing their journey coming to an end. That would take a depth of strength as well, right, in your own character. How do you disassociate that when you leave work and make sure that that does not impact your time? That must be very,
Impossible.
yes.
Impossible.
Mm,
It's not possible.
mm,
I think it's an aspiration
mm,
for many people in fields that are heavy, you
mm,
know,
mm.
but I don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
I think to really commune with human beings,
Mm.
you have to give a piece,
Yes.
and you'll never leave without a piece.
Yes. True. True.
So for me to feel like I've done my best work for someone, I can't leave untouched.
Yes.
Now, how that affects me, right? What I do with that energy, I can be more thoughtful about, right? It's once I tell my learners this too, right? Once you get rid of this idea that professionalism requires you to not be human, right? To leave the human things behind, which is impossible for your human self, right?
Mm.
Then you can say, okay, that's not possible. So let me focus on what is possible.
Mm.
I can learn how to transmute energy as opposed to avoiding it,
Yeah.
right? So I can take what most people see as sadness and repurpose it and repackage it. And a lot of the work that I do is repackaging horribleness into something that is palatable, right? Something that can even be considered and absorbed. So because my work requires me to already repackage sadness,
Mm.
I'm not really taking sadness home with me. right? Because I didn't let sadness be the end of the sentence for the patient,
Yep.
right? We can deal with what's going on, and we have to leave space for sadness, for hopelessness even. And
Mm.
often I'm saying, hope does not die; it just changes,
Yeah.
right?
True.
And to be able to say that, I got to believe it,
Mm.
right? So if hope is not dead ever, then is sadness ever big enough to overwhelm me? Yeah, sometimes.
Mm.
And sometimes I cry, right? Because I've been so touched by somebody else's, just that little piece of somebody else's life that I had the privilege to be a part of,
Mm.
right? I cry for the patients who I wish had different outcomes and they don't, right?
Mm.
And sometimes I cry for joy for the
Mm.
patients we thought didn't have as many options and they actually do, or they shock us all and we get to not be the bearers of bad news, but the holders of hope,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I work in an IT space, so I don't have to deal with that aspect of things, but I absolutely admire people like firemen, people like ambulance workers, people like doctors, policemen, to have to go and knock on somebody's door and to say that their child was in an accident and no longer alive, to try your hardest to climb through a 10-story burning building to try and rescue, and you rescue 9 children and you bring down the ashes of one child.
Mm,
And then for that fireman to go home and to put his arms around his own family, for that policeman to go and who scraped the body of a young child or a young person, an old person off the road, and go to knock on the door to give that news and then go home to their loved ones and to enjoy their time with their loved ones while this is imprinted on their minds and what they just dealt with at work. Doctors, as you said, having to give bad news. You can celebrate the good news, the ones that you thought had no hope but made it.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, you can go and celebrate with your loved ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, I admire people in those professions. Nurses, they deal with this daily,
Oh,
you know.
all day, 12-hour shifts in the
Yeah,
muck, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. And they become quite close to the patients too, right? Because,
Oh, yes.
so yeah, my future daughter-in-law is a nurse. One of my other daughter-in-laws is a nurse. So yeah, I take my hats off to that profession because they become so involved.
So true.
And I think that the authenticity comes through too when you're not blasé about it and you're not treating it like a profession. As you said, you got to take a piece of that into you. Otherwise, you just become like a textbook, right?
Yeah,
And
we
the
just
patient
nailed it.
feels it. The person feels it. So,
Oh, yeah. We
yeah.
know when we meet somebody who feels like a NPC, like a robot,
100%. Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
is that real? That person don't seem real. They feel very plasticky, you know?
Yeah. 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 Does your work influence your writing much?
It's interesting. I think about that often. I write about just about everything but my work often.
Yeah.
It's very rare that I write about what I do. I think I wrote 2 poems about the actual work I was doing in COVID during COVID. The
Mm.
rest of it was all about love, blackness, just being, existing, womanhood, all of those things.
Mm.
And I think in a way the writing is an outlet, but more so an escape where I
Yep.
get to, delve into all the other things that are interesting or that move me in life besides my work. A lot of it is very focused on my experience as a Black woman because I can't be anything else but what I am, So I'm like, well, I'm gonna talk about something. Let me talk about something I'm experiencing,
Yeah.
so I don't sound like a fool. I might still sound like a fool, but at least I'm telling the truth, you know?
You don't sound like a fool at all. Honestly, the posts that I've seen of yours and pieces it hasn't been for a few years that I've heard you recite. They carry a lot of weight, a lot of power, a very profound pieces. It's not frivolous writing by any means. Um, must be very disheartening when you've just had to give a patient at work good news, sad news, and then you
Mhm.
come out and come get home and the TV goes on. You said you write a lot about blackness, and then you see a useless waste of a life because of a trigger happy policeman or a gang sort of thing, or some
Mhm.
stupid villainous person just knifing somebody for a phone or something like that. That must be very disappointing in many levels, wouldn't it? When you've just had to say goodbye to somebody who deserved and wanted to live, and then you come and you see this waste of a life. That that would be quite a challenge in its own right, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
I think most of the things I experience on the news these days are challenging. Um, but certainly, when the work gives you perspective, not just on your own life, but on how everybody's living, the choices that we're all making, and some of the things that we can see coming and we still, hey, Miss Betty, hey, Mama Betty. Uh, and we still pursue anyway. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, wow, especially young people, you know, it's really a sad thing, when and often now because I'm noticing a lot more of my patients are young people,
Mm, mm,
less than 50 years old with horrible cancers, horrible things going on, and very little hope of surviving or doing better. And it sucks when you know what you know and
yeah.
everybody around you doesn't know yet.
Mm,
It's quite the weight to carry, and coming out and seeing people on the news not taking advantage of this big, beautiful life that they have
mm,
is disheartening, seeing policemen and people in power taking further advantage of people who are already so in need
mm.
is so disheartening, right? When you go to work, even, IT, you may say that, hey, what I do is not as heavy as what you do, but we can't do what we do without you, right? We really just can't. I tell you right now, things, when they break down on the IT side, it's broken, right? It gets real dangerous in the hospital because of logistical issues, right?
Yeah.
So, we extend that same grace of wanting all our folks to be able to live, wide reaching and deeply satisfying and safe lives
Mm,
at the very least. Health is not a guarantee,
mm,
right? So it's like, well, what is?
mm,
You
mm.
know?
You're right about the number of young people. I personally, on a personal level, 2 years back, 2.5 maybe, a friend that I'd known for like 35 years, he was in his early 50s. He lost his wife at 44 with breast cancer. Then 5 years later, his second son, who was 22, took his life.
Oh
Then
gosh.
my friend took his life. And then his oldest son at 29 took his life. All three suicides in the one family in 4 years. And I used to run an open mic under Original Thought. I actually took 18 months off because I needed that time for me to come to terms with it all.
Mm.
And yeah, and it's sad when you see 29 and 22 two-year olds taking their life with just a note, "Gone to be with mum."
Oh.
Yeah. And I was 4 days away from catching up with my friend at a beachside town. I had a friend from Pittsburgh visiting here, and I was taking her along the Great Ocean Road, and we were going to catch up. And it just so happened to be the second anniversary of his first son taking his life. When as he went to the fridge, something snapped in his head, and he hung himself. And I was 4 days away from meeting him. And then 12 months later, his oldest boy took his life. And yeah, uh,
Yeah.
we rode. I'd known him for 35 years. We rode the highways of this wild nation I live in, and we left no rock unturned. You know, we rode the highways from hell, and have to speak at his funeral. Then I was 4 days away. That never came.
So
This
sorry.
the but yeah. Um,
Okay, we can sit in that for a second.
no,
That's all right.
yeah, the but and this is why I really admire the professions, as I said, that deal with. For me, it was 3, 4 times in my journey, maybe half a dozen times. But you guys deal with this every day, and that's why I think. And sadly, I believe in the States it's the same, but even here, our nurses, as you said, work 12-hour days, and they're quite underpaid, let's say, in comparison to for what they do. You know, uh,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
you don't see them driving around in luxury cars and so forth, right? So, if firemen, you know, they work. Yes, they have some downtime, but good God, when they during our summer months where we get be inundated with bushfires and so forth, not to mention the domestic scene, these guys
Yeah.
work and put their life at risk every day. You know. Ambulance workers from road traffic scraping off people's brains off the roads and using the jaws of life to cut people out of crushed vehicles. Yeah, it's
Absolutely. 100%.
yeah.
100%. It's really disgusting. I think
Mm.
they say you can tell a lot about a society by how they treat their least,
Mm.
right? Not to say that those folks are our least, but we
Mm.
treat them like they're our least. And
Yes,
they're our most important, our teachers. Come on. Like
yeah,
who's more important than our teachers?
yes,
You want a future, but you don't want the people who protect the future, who cultivate the future,
yeah,
that
yeah,
make the future a possibility. If everybody burns down in the fire, where's the future? You
yeah,
know?
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, what part of that is going to be, worth it enough,
Yeah.
to pay people properly,
So,
you know?
so when you started writing, you said you started writing quite profusely even in high school. Did you have a lot of that encouragement from your teachers, since we've mentioned teachers?
Um, I don't recall. I don't want to say no because I went to a crappy high school.
Mm.
I'm from the hood. There's no other way to really put that. You think you're going to a great high school. A lot of these high schools have been notoriously rough places. And some things that they do sometimes is they'll take one bad high school and split it into several, magnet schools
Yeah,
within the same, but it's the same institution. When you get there, the energy is still the
yeah, yeah,
same,
yeah,
right? And that's exactly the kind of school I went to,
yeah,
metal detectors and people getting stabbed in the auditorium my freshman year. Like they didn't care if they just were happy if you paid attention. If you paid attention, you were a star student. They're like, whoa, you listening to me? That's crazy. So anything I did was something worth supporting
yeah,
because so many of my classmates were coming from and we're all living in, conditions that make people hopeless,
yeah,
even at that young age. And then, to think that that hopelessness is going to lead for them to be able to dream
yeah,
is not really, that's not an intuitive connection, right? And it doesn't leave them any reason to behave right, to pay attention, to absorb anything that's being given to them if they're not even sure they're going to survive the day,
yeah,
right? When they get out of school and get back home. So, in high school, if I did a poem, those same teachers that made the open mic available. They were excited because we were excited about something scholastic,
yeah,
So anything that we were doing that looked like Oh, you're being a student? Forget being a good student. Just, are you going to be a student? Okay, that's great. Let's take care of this one, right?
Yeah.
She wants to learn.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I don't know that anybody sticks out who was like, I really love your poetry. I don't know that I shared it that much in high school. I
Mm.
think I took advantage of that one time and got a good response, which gave me confidence, but I was still, shy, nerd, nerd. I was a real nerd. If it wasn't about getting into college, I ain't worrying about that. What you talking about? Like, it's gonna make me a well-rounded student so I could get some free money because my mama can't afford it and I have to go because she's Jamaican and she's not having it, right? So
Did you say your background, your roots are from Jamaica?
my mother's Jamaican and my dad his people are from Georgia.
Right. Okay, because a close friend of mine from New York as well, she's of Jamaican background, and as you were speaking, I felt your accent and your enunciation and all. I felt like I was speaking to her yeah.
She's from y'all. Yes, yeah, man. Tell her I said, hey, man.
The now your foundations were in Queens, you said, right? Yeah. I was actually in New York visiting my friend there in 24, and I actually caught the subway up to Queens to visit some other friends. And I see what you mean about, yeah, it's, and
Okay.
yeah. And I remember my friend because a couple of days she had to go into her office, which was based in the Bronx, and I
Mm-hmm,
caught to other friends around the
mm-hmm.
Bronx spend the day on the day she had to go into office. But she made sure that I was on the phone. Like if I left my friend's place in Queens, she'd stay on the phone until I got back to the
So you
hotel
got
where
there,
we were
right?
staying up. Or I remember catching up with and LaBelle for lunch, and then Tanika and I went through the in the Bronx, the gardens there, the botanical gardens,
Mm-hmm.
and until my friend, she stayed at work till about 7 o'clock till I was ready because she did not want me catching the train from the Bronx back to Tarrytown where we were staying. And I'm going, what is this place? I feel
It
like
is real.
I'm in some militant, in the
Listen,
Senegalese,
listen.
something like that, right?
Hey, it could get real wild, and it sounds like you're loved, and protected. We survive these city, hazards every day.
Yeah.
But the best target is somebody who's new and doesn't know.
Yeah.
And in New York, it's not hard to figure out who that is, and it's a lot that could get taken.
Yeah.
So,
I remember now. Here's the classic. Now, yes, I probably stood out a bit like a tourist there, um, although I can usually blend in pretty well in most sort of countries I travel to.
Mhm.
I don't know if you know Philip Curtis. He goes by Midnight Poet.
Yeah, midnight. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
So I was on a show with him and Chance on
Oh
this.
God.
And what a pair! Like I've featured them here a couple of times. They are good friends. Good friends.
Hmm.
Matter of fact, I caught up with Philip when on my trip to New York in 24 because
Oh,
Philip grew up in Brooklyn.
I was gonna say, did you go to Brooklyn? Because that's where you
Oh,
find Philly.
definitely. So, and he was visiting friends and family from. He'd come down from Colorado, so we
Hmm.
caught up and we spent a morning together. And I
Hmm.
remember him saying to me, he said, although he grew up in Brooklyn, he said
Hmm.
if he was in the Bronx, he would not ask anybody for directions. He'd use his phone because they'll guide you down the wrong street and rob you or mug you. And I'm going, this is crazy. This is for somebody saying who grew up there making this comment, right? Uh,
Hello,
but
hello. That's why you see I didn't blink an eye when you said what you said. So yeah, that makes sense. That tracks. Hmm.
well, who you are as a person, Ray Jane, and your writing certainly has touched a lot of people. The number of people here that are coming into this room, high gifted, Mr. Witz, they've featured on the show a couple of times. Robert
Hmm.
Cosby, author. You are And Miss Betty has been excited from the time the first flow went up saying that you're coming on the show. All right. I think we need to do some justice and share some of your, maybe recite some of your pieces and can expound on those.
Sure.
It's an absolute pleasure again to meet you, Ray Jane. Meeting people like you, to me, is one of the. I love authenticity, and when I meet authentic people, to me, that's one of the best gifts life can give me.
Mm.
Everything else is surplus. I don't take those to my grave. The materialism, the statuses at work, the dollars in the bank, nothing do I take to my grave. But encounters with authentic people, with people whose hearts pump from the right place, those are the memories I take beyond my grave.
Well, I'm honored to meet you. I've enjoyed our conversation thus far. Like, we could end it right here. I'll be like, man, that was nice. So I really appreciate it. Shout out to everybody who's in the chat. I believe in God. I believe God is in me. I believe when I open my mouth, I can't hide that. If you feel something, I'm usually telling you, hey, probably ain't me. It's probably whoever's coming through. And I find it a privilege to be a conduit for God's love and grace, and also what messages people may be willing to be open to, as you mentioned, right? You take what you need and you leave the rest. I find it a privilege also to be on these platforms and have space to say what I want to say. Especially as a woman, I don't know that the generations before me always had opportunity, right? To speak their minds, to exist in their greatness and their power, to dare, to demand to be heard. So I do that for them.
I must say, so this show, I have no agenda. When I feature a guest, it's all about them. And I leave it up to the featured guests to go wherever they want to showcase as much of themselves as they are comfortable with. I'm just a vessel that hosts the show. I've got no prescribed sort of aspects that I want to showcase. I want you to showcase and take the show wherever you want it to go. If you want me to shut up and you want to recite pieces, you want to talk about any topic, I don't have any restrictions. This is all about, these 2 hours are all about you, not about what I want, right? It's all about you. So feel, and Ray Jane, when I post this, I'll obviously add you as a collaborator so that you can share it on your own page if you wish to. Secondly, I also create a YouTube post and a Spotify podcast, which I'll send you the links for. It's yours. You can use it any which way you like. So this is about taking Ray Jane, that's well known within the poetry community in IG. It's showcasing it to corners of the world like India and Jamaica, or wherever, any corner of the world that favors different platforms, because I hand select people that I feature on this show because I believe in their work. And I believe in that their work needs to be heard. So this is all about you. It's an open platform for you to talk about whatever you like.
Okay. Thank you. That's only a little bit daunting. Right. I love that. I think that's really beautiful and special and needed. I wish more of us were made to feel how you're making me feel, just important. And like what I have to say is worth it. My mom's been saying that to me, I guess in the past few years, you're worth it. And I'm starting to tell people that, because I think we tend to tell each other you're worthy, which is not the same thing to me.
Yeah.
And I love that. So I think you make me feel like I'm worth it right now. So thank you for that.
Absolute pleasure.
So if I'm going to speak from who I am, I think one of my favorite poems that makes me feel most like myself, I'm trying to find in my book right now. That's why you hear the pages turning. Um, is a poem. A lot of my stuff is because I'm a nerd. I can't really keep it out of my poetry, which I kind of like because then it like helps me make it. Sometimes the poems I get a chance to learn with poems because I have to research because I want to add something for you to learn, right? To have known in it. So if you hear like, allusions to the stars and space and the universe and, you know, Pleiades and those kind of things, the things that keep us up at night and we go down the rabbit holes and we're like, what's really going on? Like that's the stuff sometimes. So we'll get into some me, some conspiracy stuff, some love. And that's where I think I'll take us today. I'll start with the poem that I think is most like me. And it's entitled Universe of She. I was born out of melody, tapping feet when reciting to breadcrumb myself. Between dimensions I return to me riding rhythms. Miles and Coltrane combine to explode me back into this timeline. I arrive, covered in my grandmother's rubies. Abundance, finally finding me in a past life made present. There we are, rings of gold erecting neck, unbending in my intention. Eyes black like the coal in my eighth mama's steely spirit. I resurrect, royalty remembering myself. Translate my infinity into mathematical equations. Lemniscate, the likes of which the great pyramids used to communicate with. Every 4,000 years, I learn to realign between clef notes, correspond with my past lives in tongue of the Pleiades. Kiss my green-skinned husband. Forgive him for letting me travel portals alone. I am what I have always been. Singular, enough, too tough to be timed, stretching galaxies in my brass arms. I hold the world up, inspect its worthiness of my return, find it lacking, cut off 7 locks to gift to my future selves, tell them to plant me in every wonder, give us something to do on the next go-round. I marvel at how many universes I got door knocker earrings on and tucked my bejeweled crown under fitted in at least 10 dimensions. Bop my way back to real rap, spit a hot 16 on my way back to Mars among the stars. I remain an original, great mother spirit, sang Kofa with my seeds. I rolled a saxophone sexy neck back to impregnate me in my own mind, with symphonies of reasons never to settle. I open gold-dusted lips, scream joy into the darkness that embodies everything. Honor this forever warrior spirit, kicking up dust just to escape the catches.
My infinity of mathematical equations. And another part of a line that grabbed me there, travel portals alone. I think that's those two statements you can dissect so much, right? Life, there is no prescribed solution or recipe for life. Life, you got to follow your inner yearnings, to me, right? You got to listen to that inner voice, guide it there, go where people say you shouldn't go, because that's your truth you're searching, not somebody else's prescribed truth. Some of the places, recently I visited Nigeria and I had family and people here saying, what the hell do you want to go there for? You're going to get killed. You're going to get scammed. I tell you what, I felt safe. I was there for a month. I felt safer than ever. I'm going back there this December. I'm going there for longer. I'll probably go and spend a lot of time there over the next 5 years. And I felt safe. Matter of fact, I felt safer there than I did in the Bronx. There you go.
Listen, I was about to say, don't come here. It's not safe. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Traveling portals alone, I've always followed my journey. So that really rungs bells in my mind as you read it, because I think that's where strength is, right? To go step away from the norm, to follow, even where friends and family say, I've always been different to my family. You'd meet my sister and you'd think, are you two even related? Or my brother and me, you'd think, are you two even from the same womb? Because because I've always, not that I'm anything special by any means, but because I've always followed those portals that I wish to explore, those rocks. That is, as I search for my truth. You know? So that's very potent lines in that whole piece. An amazing piece, and I loved your recital of it too. The cadence was just allowed enough time to absorb the lines to, so I love that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I love that you share the lines. So please let me know if there are things that, I always encourage people whenever I do, open mics or we do any series, just
That sort of piece I would read over and over again, and every time I read, I would find other lines, powerful lines that I like to look beneath the lines too. So that's why I like having hard copies and reading them. A collection of different people's books here for that reason.
Me too. Me too. Me
Yeah.
too. I'm always telling people, like, are you really a fan of these people you say you support? Do you have their book yet? Because that's crazy for you to say that you support them and you don't have what they put out. Because it takes a lot to make these things, and I love that kind of reader, that kind of listener, because sometimes I don't know what's going to be most impactful.
Yeah.
And not even sometimes, most times, I don't know, what's really going to resonate. So it's really a beautiful thing to get feedback in general, that somebody found themselves in the piece, even if it's just one line. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
now we're together, and you just messed up because you told me that we in family now. That's it. We together. So it's over.
Well, Blacklight, that is certainly going on my list of books to take up space on my shelf here. Yes, definitely. Yeah. So while we're at it, where can people purchase the book besides Amazon, I'm guessing? So let's give the book a plug and showcase that. So, folks, if you are not in the room and you end up watching the replay on one of the mediums, you're hearing directly from the author of Black Like That, and gives you a good chance to hear her work and then invest in her book and follow her on the different platforms. So,
And it is available in everywhere. So wherever it sells books, you can get this book. It's available in print. It's available as an ebook. It's also available as an audiobook. So if you got Spotify, they now have audiobooks on there and they have mine. So wherever audiobooks are available, it's also available, which is a different experience, which I hope, you'll get a gist of now. It's different, I think, for most people, right? Different to read it
yeah.
than to hear it from the author, what parts of the sentence, the word they want an emphasis on that maybe you didn't, catch when you were reading it. So, if anybody here has my book, feel free to turn to the same page if I'm reading something and, wow, you know what, I thought she.
Well, somebody who has your book, Miss Betty, would love you to read page 13 and
Oh,
or page 48 too. So,
okay. I love that. Ooh, oh, yeah. Okay, definitely. Um, If you want to purchase the book from me directly, because I usually will send it to you and write a little note to you. I know some people don't like people to write in their books because they want to pass it around and send it, which is also fine with me, right? So you just let me know if you prefer me to write your note separately outside of the book. But expect that I will send you a little love note, just thanking you for taking a chance on the journey.
Well, I would love to get a signed copy from you and send you the money, but I got to say, when I send my books signed copies to the US or UK or Canada,
Mm-hmm.
the postage costs from Australia costs more than the actual books itself, which is
Yeah.
great.
Which is I had to find that out myself too. When I launched it, but you can buy my book on itsrayjane.com. And everything is on there. I try to make things simple. So, what is it? It's rayjane.com, right? itsrayjane.com. You can buy it directly from me. If you're buying internationally, my friend, don't worry about it, I got you. If you don't want to deal with the shipping costs, you can go directly through Amazon. If you're not supportive of Amazon, just about every other distributor has my book as well.
No, I'm quite happy to fund the postage over here, but I just call that out just to anybody overseas who decides to get it. Just be aware that the postal often, as I said, I sent both my books, and the cost of the postage costs more than the two books put together. So, postal service is crazy these days. Yeah.
What isn't crazy? Could we get something that's not crazy? Goodness. Mm-mm. But certainly I would love it. You don't have to, I don't, you don't have to do nothing. My daddy always said, you ain't got to do nothing but stay black and die. And I believe that. I try to live my life in that simplicity. But if you buy my book, it's a choice. So I appreciate you if you do. And I'd love to send you a little love note saying so, and a little, bookmark, a little gifty, nothing crazy because I ain't got no money, but but a little something. So shout out to anybody who's already purchased. I appreciate you so much. And anybody who even thinks about it. Thank you, because you didn't have to. There's 1,000 other books, billions of books out there. But you should buy books, because they're getting rid of books also, So, okay. So Mama Betty made a request. So I can't even pretend like I'm not going to do what Mama Betty wants. That just feels dangerous.
I just love her soul. She's just such I just want to give her a biggest hug.
She's wonderful. And she has a book too.
Yes.
So I'll make sure you get with Mama Betty and get her book.
Miss Betty has featured twice on this show.
So y'all been blessed twice? That's what I just heard. Mm-hmm. That's a beast right there. And so much wisdom, such a rich experience. The way that Mama Betty puts words together and speaks from a place of power as well is really inspiring. So I know you can hear what I'm saying to you. I ain't got no cash, but I do got love for you, Mama Betty.
I love her selflessness. On her last feature, which was, I think, earlier this year or tail end of last year,
Mm-hmm.
she sent me these photos
Oh.
for the flyers, and she was holding up other people's books. She was promoting other people's books, and this was not her. And it was all about promoting her book. She was reading work from. She is the most selfless soul that I have met, and that is beautiful, right? We're all about the self, and when I meet people, as I said, I love authenticity, and when I meet selfless people like that. Those are memories I cherish for the rest of my life,
Absolutely. It's unfortunate that authentic people are hard to find.
Yeah.
They become, precious stones, that we collect. because we just so surprised, like, oh my God, do you see that iridescent thing over there? Wow, nobody else picked it up. That's crazy. I'm gonna get it. So it's wonderful,
Mm.
seeing and meeting all these talented people and finding out there's so many different ways to shine.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that also inspires me because sometimes I think the poetry has to sound a certain way, has to look a certain way, I have to present myself a certain way
Mm.
for it to be impactful.
Mm.
So it's really nice to see all the different ways that people express themselves so that I can be free to
Yeah.
do it however it comes out, in a way that feels right.
Mm. Mm.
So I know, Miss Betty, I know, but we don't really shine if we don't spread the light. Are we shining if we're not spreading light? I don't know. I'm pretty into science. I feel like the luminosity has to be there, right? If you're not touching nobody's leaves, are you a sun? Are you a star, really? So it's nothing, takes away nothing from me to lift you and let other people know that you are indeed great. Um, I think that's one of the best things about being in this community too,
Yeah.
is people are so generous
Mm.
with, their support.
Mr. Witts and Gifted Johnson Wilkinson are the two dearly loved souls that I've known probably since I first joined this platform, probably 4 or 5 years ago. And
Mhm.
they were a couple of the first people I met, and I was blessed to meet people like that. Yeah.
You came in strong then, like these leaders in this community are just to be word people.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to find words for them.
Yeah.
I think that kind of goodness and level of goodness is too unique in this world.
Well, you're held in that kind of reverence as well. Jane's spoken
Um,
word just said, Ray Jane's light is a true gift from the universe, which it is. I mean, I've heard your work before, as I said, on Mr. Witz's and Gifted's platform and a couple of places, not for a while, a couple of
mhm,
years, but just in this hour that we
mhm,
interacted, I can see exactly where Jane is coming from. You
mhm,
are a light. Your authenticity is something to be treasured by those
mhm,
who meet. And all I can say is that the patients that you deal with in your day-to-day work are blessed to have an authentic carer that comes from the right place
mhm.
in their dying days, in their last days, right? That you really are a shining jewel, and it's a
Thank you.
connect with somebody like you.
Likewise, man. I hope you seeing the love you getting in the chat too, because they're making sure you're not left out of this love thing that we doing here. Go ahead, read that, because I don't want you to miss that.
These are all my brothers and sisters that I was always a very private person until I got onto this platform, and then I've been blessed to have met and continue to meet weekly.
Mm,
Because on the alternate week to something more than gibberish, I run an open mic as well, and or do DM reads, and each week I'm blessed to meet lovely people, people
yeah.
that. And it's funny, you don't have to meet in person, like I've never met Gifted or Miss Betty or Mr. Witz in person, but I feel like I've known them all my life.
Me neither. I don't even know if they have knees for real. Do y'all have legs? I don't know.
Mr.
Ankles? I don't
Witz
know.
is very tall. I remember seeing a photo of him and Gifted, and I did not realize how tall he is.
Listen, allegedly, we don't know if this is true, right? This could be AI. I don't know. But that's wonderful, right? That we get to meet each other in this way and feel so connected without the touch, With
100%.
it's, such an integrally human thing to have the touch to feel something is real.
Yeah.
So, to be so sure about the authenticity of these people that we have not even touched
Yeah.
is really a special thing.
When I travel, like in 24, when I was in New York, I always try to catch up personally with people that I've met. And that last trip in 24, I caught up with about 5 or 6 poets that I'd known for 3, 4 years on this platform and met them in person, and it takes connection to another level, you know. Um,
Oh yeah, there's nothing like that first hug. That
yeah,
first hug is crazy. Okay. First time I met Jane spoken word, that hug was nuts. And every hug since has just been even better and better. Like it's just something about being able to embrace people that you love already.
yeah,
You know? It's just nice.
yeah. You better give Miss Betty page 13 and
I
14.
know. She's gonna cuss us out. Hold on. Wait a minute. Don't cuss us out. Don't write us out the will yet. Hold on. All right. The poem on page 48 is entitled For the Black Body. And I'm so sad that it's still relevant. I'm sad that it was relevant enough for me to talk about it then. And I'm so sad that in 2026, it's still so relevant. And I hope that why it's relevant comes across pretty clearly for you. This one's a tough one for me to read sometimes because it embodies so much of the trauma that the Black body endures and is still enduring, and just having the opportunity to do maybe what the folk behind me didn't get to do, which is to question that out loud, and to really ask the world to deal with it, you know, and not just pretend to be surprised every time the same thing happens. So this is for the Black body. Jaheim McMillan, armed with the Black body, dared to exist in the sunlight, extinguished well before he'd know the reach of his legacy, taken again. Another rewritten history where the innocent become the enemy again. Another Black forever, reduced to a body, and we add another name to the tally of Black men slain to distract us from the carnage of capitalist gain. Drag chalk from bottom to top of a Black life, reduce us to outlines. The other day I saw Anubis. Yesterday I saw Anubis. Today I saw Anubis. Write a new name, Keenan Anderson. Against my better judgment, I lost count of the executions. I watched again, mind absent, yet wondering how I can still subject myself to repetitive spiritual battery. Who will I be when the acrid acid of its assaults overloads my capacitor? Starting to behave like I'm Pavlov's. Trigger warnings got Bull Connor's dog salivating. Taste for persecution, solution to the Black problem. Weighs the same as the trauma in a Black body's swing. A Black body's last song, how it's often a scream. I can't breathe, wails the same grim melody as they trying to George Floyd me. Death notes attempting to lull us witnesses back to sleep. Other Black bodies, to consider ourselves privileged, to still be living, to be on this side of the cell phone screen as if we aren't able to feel his anxiety, his terror. Our faces cementing, inside battle is raging, mistaken for inability to recall easily than many. How many times a day this skin recalculates the likelihood of my survival. How this skin demands that I clutch joy with both hands. 'Cause I never know when I'll lose another Black man. Again, I choose to lift the Black man. Again, 'cause all the world can be a noose to the Black man. Again. So for you, Black man, again, Stolen black man, I snatch back your name and return to you all of your breaths taken. Thank you.
Wow, that is a piece that each word, each line says so much, you know. Dared to exist in the sunlight, in divine light, dared to exist. The innocent becomes the enemy. You delivered the profoundness of the plight so well in each of those lines, you know. Distract us from the capitalist game. One that just literally made my blood go cold. One line there, how black bodies swing. I mean, how did anybody swinging, but yeah. And it's something that happened hundreds and thousands of years ago, and that it's happening today. Where has humanity grown? Where have we developed? Have we developed? And all the world can be a noose for the black man. That's yeah. It's sad. It's sad, and it's been so ingrained for so long. How is the way forward? What is the path forward? Because it's twofold, right? Yes, the oppressor needs to change their views, but then the oppressed how do they let go that this is how it's always been, and this is a new option? How do they trust that new path?
I think there has to be a new pattern. You know, I think trust is only possible when you can anticipate.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think that Black people, particularly in America, but really all over the world, because there's very rarely a place where we're loved and appreciated. You know, most people are talking about, well, where can you go to even be just Black and exploring, right? And I think that the fact that there is no end to it, you know, makes it difficult to even think about what it would take for us to believe that this is not something that is a reality for us, because it remains one, you know, even on a legal level, right? Despite the fact that hanging, because that's what it is, right? It's not suicide. We don't do that. We do that. We don't talk about it enough that we do it, but we don't do it from trees. You know, that's usually when other people do that, you know, to us. And even we don't drown ourselves, you know, we don't get left behind in groups for no reason, right? So even the young man, Nolan Wells, who they're still a month later before they even, you know, arrested anybody, even though the entire internet has already investigated this thing to the floor, and they know what it is, right? It's almost feels like you're playing in our face. You know, there's no law against lynching, even though it's such a rooted part of our history that it seeps into every part of our cultural expression, even our music, right? You know, some of the most famous songs, you know, talk about that strange fruit.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's so much of that oppression that's overt. And then you got the covert side as well, right? Where two people go to apply for a place in a college or a school or a job, and there's that covert sort of discrimination as well. Those are harder to deal with as well, sometimes more than the overt sort of suppression.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you Mama Betty, and all of you for the love in the chat. You know, it's a system. And I agree with the question, even the notion that we have the power to redefine certain things for ourselves, including reality, right? But we can't do it by ourselves, you know? If we choosing to live in a society where we're sharing air and space and laws and, you know, rules with other people, you know, those other people also have to be worthy of our magic and not always trying to steal it.
It has
You
to
know?
be that way for sure. We've got a converse problem here where Australia is built up of a very multicultural society. It's a big continent. It's probably bigger than the States, right? Or the same size, if not marginally bigger, but built by convicts and people that UK wanted to get rid of. Built off immigrants from Greece, Italy, Malta through the Depression after the built off immigrants from Vietnam after the wars. And so we embrace multiculturalism. But one of the sad things that's happened here in the last 10 years is there's been big numbers of immigrants brought here from like Somalia after the stuff. And sadly, we've got now an issue where you got young Somalians, and this is what they were used to, what they'd witnessed as well through the trouble there. They're running around in broad daylight with big machetes, attacking people in shopping centres, things like that. So that now has turned the Australian people saying, why the hell are we doing this? Because now we can't. So as I said, it's a two-way thing that even if the oppressor was to change, then we've got to, then the other side, the press needs to trust in that change as well. But if we're going to keep living in the past, then that change can never happen.
That's true. But if you keep treating me like you did in the past, I have no incentive to change my mind. And it's actually detrimental for me too. You know, you that's similar to what's happening here in the States. You know, not everybody, but a lot of people want us to just put things behind us. You know, let's move on. Racism was, you know, back then, thousands of years ago. We had nothing to do with that. But so many people who are not struggling because they're systematically living in a world that's designed to make sure that they struggle, right? These folks who live within and off of the privilege, right, that came from what started back then and never stopped, right? You're still living in your grandmama's house that you got gifted because, you know, people like me were redlined out of your community, or our entire community was put under, you know, a lake, right? So that it could be more, you know, more beautiful scenery for you and your folk, right? What a privilege to say all of that from that porch, right? While me and mine are under the water, you know, that y'all are, you know, jet skiing on, you know, so there's a lot of angst that I don't think we'll be able to get past because there's a lot of angst that's not even been acknowledged yet. Right? How do we make a change when you haven't even seen me? How can I trust somebody who refuses to see me? Right? And when I jump up and down and make myself, you know, undeniable, you demonize me, right? And tell me I should get over. Why are you so upset? You're just an angry Black woman. La, 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 la. I have reason. Right? I have legitimate reason to be upset. You are lucky that God is in me, in fact. Right? Because if I were to be, you know, the embodiment of the rage of my ancestors, as many of us, you know, fantasize about sometimes when things are particularly tough, I think there would be a lot more understanding because there wouldn't be a question. You wouldn't have the option to not understand us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and it extends to so many other groups as well, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even the Hispanics, it's continues on, right? And it doesn't seem to be healing. It seems to be festering more than healing, right?
Yeah, and I think think about the world like I do a human body, right? There's a lot of ways that the body can malfunction.
Mm.
And we can't really take care of the body if we look at only the kidneys,
Mm.
right? I can't say I'm taking care of your whole body if I ignore your liver,
Mm.
right? Which is so important for how things are broken down and how things get in and out of this collective system that we're living in,
Mm.
right? So I think we have to acknowledge the things that are wrong
Mm.
before we can heal it, right? I
Mm.
can't heal something I can't diagnose.
100%.
And I think, we're jumping to treatments and we haven't even diagnosed the problem properly.
Yeah.
How do we fix it? You don't even know what the it is, right? You haven't even allowed me to fully define the it
Yeah.
and to call it me,
Yeah.
right? Even though we keep defining ourselves sometimes on our last breath. But somehow we remain a mystery on purpose.
Mm. Mm. Right, Jane, we could talk about this forever.
I know we could go on and on.
Yeah, we've got about 45 minutes. I'd like to showcase some of your work. Better go to page 13 for Miss Betty and then showcase any work that you'd like because I want the world to hear the voice
Let's
of
do
Ray
it.
Jane.
Since we're talking about redefining,
Mm-hmm.
I have the last poem in my book, which I placed as the last poem. So the book is a journey. Each chapter is not really a chapter, is one of, I guess, one of the biggest leaders in this community who I look up to quite a bit, Peggy Robles Alvarado, did me the honor of reading my book and giving a blurb for the back. And one thing that she told me was, you don't have chapters.
Mm.
It's like you have mileposts.
Mm.
This is a journey, through who you think you are as a Black woman, right? Your experience. And I didn't want to leave the book with pain,
Mm.
right? As if that's the entirety of our experience, because it's not.
Mm.
It's a significant part of it,
Mm.
but it's one sense, right? In a complete people who have many senses.
Mm.
So this book is about what makes us beautiful and challenged, but beautiful, right? So this one is called My Black Is. My Black is more than bondage and bandage dreams. My Black is more than halted visions of dastardly things. My Black is more than hood protagonists on TV screens. My Black is more than burning crosses in military-grade bullying. My Black is more than slave movies as singular Black narrative. My Black is old school jams, jamming on Sunday mornings. My Black is blue magic, shining betwixt brand new braids, is beads cackling like carefree childhood, kinda, is folded, undisclosed amount tucked neatly in warm grandma palm, is instinctive twitch with mere mention of belt or switch, is collard greens with smoked neck bone on shopping list, is knowing which aunt got the bomb mac and cheese, is moisture greedy crown, wave caps, curls mistaken for naps, knowing look between strangers with familiar melanin, is eye contact with that same new friend when they start wilding. My Black is pulling up, getting out, and giving greetings is cocoa butter scent, basketball battlefields, and open hydrants is blues, jazz, funk, soul, drums, throat, the foundations of music. My black is hidden like Beethoven's genius behind all your favorite inventors is the cool everyone is chasing. My black is precious resource the whole world is wasting. The fact is, this black is no longer for sale.
I love that ending line too. That was, yeah, I think we need to be reminded to see the value in who we are, right?
Absolutely. We're
Like,
rich.
yeah, one of
Oh,
my one of my friends that I went through high school with, and even now we're still friends.
mhm,
His oldest daughter was born down, down kid.
mhm,
I I always have, and I always love it when this girl gives me a hug, because there's no filter. It's just untainted love in that hug,
yeah,
um, and that's something that I can't get from anybody else. So we need to find things to be happy in what we are. We were given, I believe, I'm given what I need for
mhm,
me to experience and learn in this journey of my soul. And I
mhm,
think to find value and to be appreciative and not
mhm,
compare with what others have and don't have. I think that's a very empowering
mhm.
point to get to be happy in our own skin, to be happy in ourselves.
Let's talk about that, huh? Let's talk about that journey of self-love.
Mm,
And I'll share that in my book writing journey, I actually wrote the wrong book.
mm,
So I was writing a whole nother book, which I
mm,
won't say the wrong book. I think that book was not supposed to be first,
mm,
right? And that book, the working title for that was Phasing in Love, and it
mm,
was supposed to be about all the ways that I've matured in love in my life. And the end of it is supposed to take me back to myself, right? To self love. And one of the chapters was Black love is
mm,
protest. And I realized I was like, this feels more like me. I'm spending a lot more time on this chapter. Wait, hold on, right? And when I'm thinking about, the idea of even writing a book, the challenge that I left for myself was, let's pretend this is the only book we'll ever write.
mm,
If this is all that remains of us to explain ourselves, is it that we are a love creature? Yes, of course I'm a love creature. But what do I feel like explains me, not in entirety, but with the most capacity to do that? And that was my blackness. So that's why the black book came out first,
mm,
right? Because even though I would love to be a woman before I'm black, and I
mm,
would love to be a doctor sometimes before I'm black, I would love to be just a human being before I'm black,
mm,
but I don't have that privilege.
mm,
Nothing where I live in
mm,
this reality, in this world, comes before my blackness.
mm,
So I felt the need to attend to that first. But the love, it won't leave me, right? It's always like, hey, you gotta write this book. You still gotta finish this way. So I'm always returning to it. And what you just said about, having to learn how to love ourselves as full creatures, right? And not just what somebody else has
mm,
told us is most important, about us, but what we spend our lives finding out
mm,
about ourselves that is lovable,
mm,
right? Especially the things that we didn't think were lovable before,
mm.
right? And so I'll read a few pieces from this love book. Yeah. Let me just find the one I'm thinking of.
It's funny how life looks from different people's eyes, right? Because when I look at a person, I don't see black, white, yellow, brown. I see the heart. I see the authenticity. I see the genuineness of the person. I have been involved very closely with many cultures of the Asian origins, with blacks, with whites, with browns, pretty much you name every damn culture I've been emotionally involved with, because I don't see colour. But it's sad people do see colour. To me, I don't. Blood's not thicker than water with me. There's families I haven't spoken to in 40 years, and I probably won't, because blood doesn't mean anything. Because if they're pardon the expression, if someone's an arsehole, they're an arsehole, whether they're blood to me or they're not, right? Whether they're...
yeah, they're just an asshole. They're a brown asshole or they're a white asshole. You know, it's still the same thing coming out, and that's the problem. You know? Absolutely. I don't know where that other poem is, but I found one that I like, so I'm gonna read. And it's still along the same lines of what we're talking about. And this one is entitled Becoming. I am an alchemist, mixing most potent potions to intoxicate you, donating dopeness disguised as dopamine. No need to be dominant when dispensing endless endowments of energy. I tried to love you past excuses, industrialize your inhibitions into intent. So hell-bent on it, I caught myself spoon-feeding serenades of serotonin, supposing songs of Cyrano could spur your strength. But I ended up spent. I even subsidized my light so you could see me. Appealing your awareness, I asked for advances of affection, attested affirmations, assertions, announcing that you could afford me. Alas, finding your funds deficient, I made a decision that I am. Mining my mind's business, making mistakes minimal, mincing memorized mechanics, already molding masterfully. No longer a need to merge mediastinums with hearts not devoted to me, so I embrace me. No longer evading entreating episodes. Inevitability rising while unearthing my triggers. I evolve into brave, so I may keep my eyes wide when I gaze into my truth. I had to grow to appreciate the elegance of my roots. I had to pry peacemaking from my hands, just long enough to understand what took my right to rage. I had to take back its space, acknowledge I'm actually afraid, that I believed that if I revealed my anger, you'd also leave. I became a cauldron, whipping lessons, imitation, catastrophes, the wind, done with coddling corrupted consciousness a door, recollecting my capricious cares, cumbrance to consistency, love, connecting your circle. I am infinite.
You always nail, and I think it's very important, I think you always nail that last line. I am infinite. You are infinite.
Thank
you. You know, that last line wraps it up and locks everything in so well.
Thank you. You know, I try to leave you with something that you can feel. At least I hope so.
Certainly do.
But
Don't question that. There's no doubt.
thank you. And you know, when I'm thinking about loving myself, it is hard, you know? It's not easy. And sometimes I have to remind myself to be nice to myself, you know, like That was mean, Ray Jane. Why would you say that to us? Don't you love us? Like, why would you say?
I fully resonate with where you're coming from. I am normally the biggest critique of myself, and I've got time for everybody but myself. I'm most kind to most people but myself.
Right? What is that? What
It's
is
a damn
that?
disease. It's a damn disease that us empaths really need to come to terms with.
It's terrible, us empaths. Um, I
Even
think that
even when my eyes are hanging out of my head, begging for sleep, I'm still making time to respond to people. Uh, and then I curse myself the next morning.
right? Like we ain't even all that. We're not even important to people. We don't even do enough. Whole time, one eye open, one whole time fatigued. Whole time we haven't looked at ourselves in so long that we are sicker than we think,
Mm,
right? Last year I was sick as a dog.
mm,
The year before that I lost my grandparents within 30 days of each other.
sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
Mm.
Sorry to have to say it, but loss is a guarantee of life.
100%
Um, you
valuable.
know, doesn't mean that because it's guaranteed, it's easier to, deal with, and those grandparents only had one child, and that was my dad.
Mm,
So, I look to my dad to be my strength, my strong tower.
mm,
But it's also interesting as you get older, you get to see the children in your parents,
yeah.
you know,
Mm,
and I could see the small child in my dad that
mm,
came to the front. And while he was very strong through it, I'm still proud of him for how he handled himself because he's a crazy man and he didn't get crazy at all. So I was like, good for you, daddy. You behaved so well. Right. But there was so much that he couldn't handle.
yeah.
And because I do death work,
Mm,
everybody assumed that I could.
mm,
And I also assumed that I could. And I also assumed the responsibilities.
mm,
I wrote the obituaries.
mm,
I picked out the clothes,
mm,
right? I did all the things that were too hard for other people to do and just called it another, piece of black girl magic,
mm,
right? And not really paying attention to how hefty that bill was and that
mm,
somebody was going to have to pay it
mm,
and that somebody was me,
mm,
right? So once everything kind of, calms down, everybody's, you finish the funeral, told everybody who didn't know, you had maybe a second
mm,
to deal with it yourself. And then I said, oh my God, I haven't been paying attention to myself for 2 years.
mm,
And what's happening in that time, right? As a woman, a lot of things that are, we're starting to talk more about women's health. It wasn't until 2000s that they even started to really do research on women. So
mm,
everything that we know about medicine is based on a male's body.
mm,
Okay. Right. And now we have real serious things that happen to women and we're suffering with them in silence.
mm,
One of those things is fibroids, right? Which
mm,
not a lot of
mm.
people pay attention to because it's not cancer, but it is acts like a cancer,
Yeah.
right? It grows against your will, right? It causes other problems because something growing where it ain't supposed to grow is definitely going to push on something that's supposed to be there and you're going to have a problem,
Mm,
right? And I was literally bleeding to death
mm,
this time last year.
mm,
I was in heart failure. I needed blood transfusions. My hair was falling out. Everybody thinks I want to just be cute, Oh, she changed her style. She cut her hair off. No, I cut my hair off because it was falling out,
mm,
right? And it forced me to really look at myself like, oh my God, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute.
mm,
This is what happens when we forget ourselves, Ray
mm,
Jane.
mm,
We die,
mm,
right? And that was like, I'm dealing with, mortality for everybody else. But when you have to deal with it for yourself,
mm, mm,
that's real sobering, right?
mm.
Ooh, hold on. Wait a minute. Right? Let me
Yeah.
get it together. you
You,
know,
you said something that's so profound where where from the time we're born, we're guaranteed of goodbyes, right? I was seven when I first
Mm.
said goodbye to a friend who died of leukemia at 7, then my
Mm.
grandfather. And just in the last 2 months, I had 3 funerals, one in family, one of a young man that I'd played golf with for 10 years. He was only 39. He's got 2 young boys, 2 and 4, and he died of brain cancer at 39. The guy's just starting life, he's blossoming. Life is just blossoming, and we were saying farewell to him. Heartless, absolutely selfless. His heart was there for everybody. He would give you the shirt off his back, and now his wife, with 2 young children, a journey
Mm.
of her. So yeah, it doesn't matter how often it happens. It doesn't get you any more accustomed to it.
No,
Mm,
not at all. Even when you do it for work,
mm, mm,
it doesn't make it hurt any less.
mm,
It makes it harder for you to feel it
mm,
until it comes crashing on you.
mm,
And some
mm,
days it really does crash.
mm,
Um, and I'm grateful for all you folk and all the people that God has given me, to love on me while I'm crashing,
mm.
to give me permission to crash and say, hey girl, you know you ain't Teflon, right? You know you the same blood and, flesh like the rest of us. You know you deserve to utilize what's going to work, whether you want it or not. I always tell my patients, listen, I got bad news about your tear ducts. They don't give a damn about you. They about to tell all your business. Right when you want to hold it together and be strong, them tear ducts are going to turn on you. So you might as well just let them do what they're going to do because they're going to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Remind you that things have to be cleansed.
yeah.
I think of that when I think of tears, as my body's way of helping me cleanse.
Mm,
Mhm.
mm,
I'm going to read this poem to you all that I wrote, I guess, for my experience going through the whole fibroid and surgery and all of that. More so from a little bit of a zoomed out perspective of just women in general and this idea of blood and how it pertains to women. And this is entitled Luke 8:43, and it's an exegesis. And it starts with a little bit of singing, which I often do with some of my poems. So I'm gonna sing a little. Okay.
Please, please.
Okay. Y'all forgive me if I'm a little pitchy. It's been a while. Okay. And this is a excerpt from a gospel song that many folk who raised in the church, you're gonna sing this song at some point. And it's the blood. Oh, the blood. Oh, the blood. It reaches to the highest mountain, and it flows to the lowest valley. The blood that gives me strength from day to day. It will never lose its power. Took my whole life to realize I am the woman with issue of blood, still reaching for God's hem to be again found exempt from men's spiritual imprisonment. Every 28 days I bleed, go on working and nobody notices.
me dying again. Just the moon in me, waning and reviving again. Phoenixing, another embodiment, answering, who touched me? Did you know the uterus does not age? That her baby-making muscle only damned by what comes out of man, but fertile from the beginning to the end. Just ask Sarah. I am the woman with the issue of blood, PMSing, hysterical again. The meaning not lost on me. Crazy, coming from the womb in me. Conventional decency convinced me that I am too much again. Too much, too emotional, too unstable, too tapped in. Took my whole life to flip tables, Jesus, in my own tabernacle amongst misleading men. Finding robbery where there should be worship. A deity dying openly, periodically, dredging God's virtue, feeling it all. Zen robbed by amens. Monthly I ascend. So they make new laws, they amend. They can't put me down. I know now I recapitalize this divine feminine, a daughter finding good comfort, shedding lies to become whole again. Realize the issue has never been me. It has always been the hymns. Adam probably lied on me in the garden and called my connection to the God in all things sin. Whole time, the apple is stuck in his explanation. His throat, the evidence, my womb, the victim. The remedy mistook for the symptom. Back on my knees as my hormones prepare my linings to go in peace. Deliver concentricity, though they slay me. Mute me, plug me with the cotton that already bled me. I remain evidence of elasticity. I push through the propaganda, the deception, reweave. Let my unpollinated fruit stream free, intent to reach just the hem of truth that God has always been, donating power to me. Check the chronicity. A man again stealing my connection's end, naming it after himself, menstruation. Proof. Probable cause, precursor to power-grabbing laws, the hymns plagiarizing me again, poison me and name their victory menopause. Make my sacred state unspeakable, dirty, cause for hiding, they don't even notice me dying. My experience a social faux pas. I bleed through my man pants, my skirts, my protection sewed on. Think it interesting that cotton, again, is the offering to stifle my bleeding. Fabric of life to keep men from needing, to acknowledge who really has the power, who is most persistent, who is deathless, despite men's insistence on diminishing the goddess reduced to a woman with an issue. Instead of sanguinary providence, story so persistent it repeated in the Gospels. Ask Mark, Luke, and Matthew why they all had to make sure that you knew. So I go on reaching for the hem, free myself every 12 spins, renew my faith in my walking Eden, rebleed and release every curse I break, reject the suggestion that I am with plague, a woman who bleeds, but heals with faith.
Beautiful, beautiful. So much said. So much said. I hope you're good in a good place now after all that. Yeah.
Thank God. Thank God. Because I took the time to take care of myself.
Yeah.
I had surgery to have that fibroid removed. That was my first surgery ever. Scary. Being on the other side of things, right? Being the patient was also an experience. Having to advocate for myself as a Black woman, even though I'm a doctor, didn't matter. There were still things kept from me that I had to advocate for.
Yeah.
So
And I know I've got family and even friends where at a young age they had to have fibro surgery, and then it came back later as well, and have to repeat that again, which is sad.
Yeah.
Uh, mm,
Yeah. And I think it's a lot more important than we even understand,
mm,
right? Because we got new research coming out showing how connected the uterus tissue is to our neuronal networks,
mm, mm,
right? So everything that's secreted by our uterus and our ovaries affects our nerves and how our brains work,
mm,
right? Even something I learned this morning, because I'm a nerd, right? So we talked about that, right? So I'm always trying to learn stuff. Right? I was like, oh, this is a new fact. I love it. I'm going to share it with people, right? So, when we think about pleasure, everybody throws around dopamine,
mm.
right? I'm trying to get my dopamine. But again, remember, all that research, all these years has been done on men,
Yeah.
right? And in men's system, dopamine is associated with pleasure.
Mm,
But in women's system, dopamine is not the pleasure king.
mm,
Dopamine actually negates or undermines, suppresses our pleasure king.
mm,
Our pleasure king is oxytocin.
mm, mm, mm,
That's the chemical of pleasure for women,
mm,
right? That's what our bodies naturally produce during birth, childbirth,
mhm,
trying to give us a calming chemical to make this feel like a magical situation so that we are more connected with this creature that we're being a portal for,
mm.
right? So I'm always thinking about that stuff. I'm up late, not sleeping either, brother. But I'm just being nosy. I'm like, let me learn about this. What you mean we the real Indians in America? Let me see what they mean by that. Where's the primary source?
God love you.
No, I appreciate that I'm a weirdo. I encourage more people to be weirdos in their own ways.
100%.
I think it leaves a lot more space for the rest of us. And while we're talking about women, I'm gonna share this piece. Um, Again, recent events exacerbate old feelings,
Mm,
right? I know you probably heard about conversations people are having about how women are not dating. We
mm,
single. We don't want nothing to do with these men. They crazy, you know? Don't treat us right. And a lot of times, some of it is not their fault. Some of it is society and how society is a patriarchal one, right? And in a lot of ways, there's privilege that men have that they don't even know they have. And unfortunately, privilege that you're not aware of often causes people trauma,
mm,
right? So no shock, when we hear these same men who are not even made aware of their privilege now leaning into more of their darkness while also having that privilege.
mm,
And the outcome of that being the destruction of women,
mm,
right? In mind and spirit, right? The diminishment of us and our right over our own bodies, whether we're talking about being able to say, I don't want to have that child, right, that I'm pregnant with, right? Or just being able to say no
mm.
in general. And I don't know if you heard about the 62 million men who were found on that website sharing tips on how to attack and damage women.
No, I haven't, and that's disgusting. Is that's mm,
Yes. And that was a fraction
mm.
of how many men actually took part in these websites, because the very next month it went up to 80 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is about that. And it's entitled, I Wanted to. I wanted it to be loving. Wanted to tell you all the ways that you are coveted, needed, how the community bleeds without you. A salve, slavery unmade. Wanted to give you flowers,
pull you down pieces of sunlight, get you out of the shade. Wasn't even gonna call you broke, or call you out your name, or mention your boys, or how your commitment is stationary play. But then it happened again. Found out about another instance of you allowing other men to mishandle me. Again, when faced with the opportunity, you pull out a phone. You flee. Do anything but sacrifice the last of yourself, your body, again, for me. Somewhere along the way, somewhere in history, you made up your mind that you would never again save me. Whatever they took, too great, too risky. Perhaps you lost yourself the same way. Your rape, your violence, your blind eye to it loses me. When you pretend not to see your homeboy beating on me. When something ancient in you forgets to challenge niggas to duel for no gain. No other argument than decency, no podcast necessary to teach you how to see me. They must have took something from you, baby. Something ancient, something that made you agree to forget me. How else could you again let beasts feed on me? Join chat rooms and trade stories. Remind me over and over with every click more unsettling. Whatever they took begins resembling the same bleeding portals your besties left their girl cousins with. The same ones their daddies give. Truth is, what you really struggle with, why you can't speak to me, why you pretend to forget the bruises your blind eyes leave. You too got it in you, don't you? Uncomfortable around women while suppressing carnality. That compulsion to brutalize must be so insistent, dragging on you, heavy. Where are your redeeming qualities? I am getting angry looking, angry because I missed it. Drop my cares for you somewhere between lyrics misshapen into poetry, littered with how you really feel about me. Left my love for you with Uncle Luke. Wonder about the aunties that never escaped Freaknik. I was on your side. I argued. Some of you had to be good. I got a daddy too. Had to be true. I wanted to believe it. But then, the next month, there were more of you. Had to be some of you. More than a few. Now, you wanting to take me out. Sounds so ominous. I tell my girlfriends every fact I know about you. I'm snapping license plates, and they pin my location just to get coffee with you. Damn. I didn't even want to talk to you like this. I wanted to write you a love song, but I couldn't.
Mm. It's sad. Again, you know, as we were saying, thousands of years ago, things that were happening still happen today, that whereas humanity evolved. One of the reasons I could never be in law enforcement like my father was because the minute I walked into a rape or a child abuse case, I would be judge, jury, and executioner, and I couldn't do that. God blessed me by not giving me a daughter because I've got one biological son and two stepsons, and I know how protective I was with them if somebody even looked at them sideways. And God help if I had a daughter when they became dating age and the tomcats come sniffing around, there'd be dead bodies on my front yard. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you sound like my daddy.
Yeah. God bless me by not giving me a daughter, but Ray Jane, that was a phenomenal piece, and it's a very real, profound truth that not just in one society. In matter of fact, in some societies, in some of the Middle Eastern societies and all that, this is worse. You know, where they can't even uncover their faces, or there's cultures where it's rude for if I'm a guest at a male's friend for visiting a friend, for his wife or daughter, or to even look me in the eye is considered rude. I mean, that's just ridiculous, right? We're all human, you know. I love
Mm.
at people's eyes when I speak to them. But it's crazy in 2026, there's ideologies like that still held reverent, right? This is
Mm.
happened 2,000 years ago, right?
Listen, it's terrible,
Mm,
and it's terrifying
mm,
because a lot of the things that we thought were exaggerations are becoming more and more true,
mm,
right? Like
mm,
Project 25, we thought that was going to be exaggeration, and we are
mm.
living through each page,
Yeah.
right?
Mm, mm,
Even I forget what that show is called, Handmaid's Tale.
mm, mm,
Right?
mm,
We thought that as a dramatization. No way it could get like that. And then what
mm,
did they do? They repeal Roe versus Wade.
mm,
All of these things that are happening now. You have poor, women, not even poor women. It's
mm.
across class now, which is more dangerous than anything. You can be a rich woman, and if you're in a certain state and you get pregnant, they'll use these new cameras that they got up on every corner, the flock cameras,
Mm,
to find you before they'll try to find the pedophiles,
mm,
people.
mm, mm,
All these lost children that we have.
mm, mm,
Why is it that you can track down a woman who's simply trying to, get rid of a pregnancy that was there because of rape at that,
mm, mm, mm,
but you can't find none of these kids?
mm, mm,
You got cameras everywhere,
mm.
but you can't solve none of these crimes, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, what are the cameras for? It's not to prevent,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It's just to watch us. You're not actually using to benefit us,
Mm,
just to monitor us. And this is the world that we're living in, where our rights and our privacies are becoming
mm,
smaller and smaller. And we
mm,
got these devices that are also making our perspectives,
mm.
our physical perspectives, not necessarily our mental perspectives. So I
Yeah.
learned a lot on
Mm,
TikTok. I'm so much smarter because of TikTok. But I also noticed, I don't know if you noticed this, but
mm,
I'm noticing more often that I'm having to do this away from my phone. Like, whoa, there's a whole room here.
mm.
And my focus is on this little tiny box.
Yep.
What else am I missing in my life?
Yep. 100%. I sit in a train and the whole carriage, everybody's heads down like this for the whole journey. I sit in a tram,
Right?
everybody's heads are like that. People walking on the street, head down like that, running into each other.
Yes. Or
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, it's terrible. We all gonna have cervical lordosis, a hump. We all gonna have a hump.
There's certain times of the day, events that like when I normally 5 nights a week I'd go to a gym and then I'd do a yoga or a Pilates class after the gym. So those 2.5, 3 hours I'm at the gym, my phone stays at home. I
Mm.
do not carry it. If people need to talk to me for work or whatever, when I come back at 10 o'clock in the night, they can access me. My phone stays there. When I go to golf, my phone is shut off to calls and messages.
This is so healthy.
Yeah, 5 hours.
This is so healthy.
It's purely the scoring is done on the phone, so I take my phone, but all calls, everything is all switched off and messages. I don't respond.
You're
Um,
doing better than the rest of us. I'm trying to take a page out your book. One thing I do without phones is garden, unless,
yeah,
I'll take a little video of my gardens every now and then because it's exciting. But for the most part, me and my mom garden together, which is really a beautiful thing. Now she's retired, and that's our thing that we do together. We grow
yeah,
things,
yeah,
which I always think is such a powerful thing because as a woman, I consider myself a creator,
yeah,
right? Because my body was designed to create.
yeah.
And my mom is another woman who created me.
Mm,
And then we get to go out there. We're not creating anything, right?
mm,
Because nature is not is just a form of energy, right? So if it's energy, then it's not created. It's
yeah.
just transmuted, transformed.
Mm,
So, but we get to watch the wonder of the creator,
mm, yeah.
right? When we put a seed in the ground. What a beautiful thing,
Mm,
And no need to hear anything. Most things
I would want to put music on, in the background while you're doing stuff or whatever. But gardening,
Yeah.
just listen to the birds, even the insects, the bees buzzing about. Something about that reconnects me to the earth. I'm a tree hugger as well
Yeah.
and a grounder. I like to talk to my trees. My mother laughs at me. She's talking to the trees, ain't you? Outside talking to the trees. I'm like, yeah, they older than me. I'm showing reverence.
Yeah.
I don't know who these trees are.
Ray Jane, we've been going for 2 hours and it feels like it's only been 5 minutes. I used the 3 years ago when I started this, we used to go for 2 hours, 45 minutes, extra to 3 hours even. But since IG started doing their videos at a higher res,
Mm-hmm.
when I download the archive, if it goes for much more than 2 hours, I've got to
Mm-hmm.
do screen recordings and stitch it and all together, which takes for the YouTube. So
Yeah.
I keep it to 2 hours. But look, Ray Jane, I could keep talking to you for the rest of the day because you are a woman of substance. Your message is
Mm-hmm.
loud. Your message is clear. Your message is needed. Um, it's totally up to you. I would love to do this again at part two if you're up for it. Now, I am booked till, other than two shows in March next year, I'm booked up until May. So if you're up for it, I will send you the dates I have in March are the 12th and the 26th. Otherwise, from the 7th of May onwards, I'm booked up right up until there, which is a great place to be. This show's been going for over 3 years. August was 3 years.
Can
And
we just pause for that for a second? Can I just give you a hand clap? Because what a beautiful thing that you've created. It's very hard to keep things going in general, and to even hear that you're booked out until May, that's big.
seriously, I'm just looking at my calendar here, the spreadsheet, and I must say, if you are free on the 11th of December, every year, the last show for the year, what I do is I have a Goodbye 2026, the Christmas show. And in that episode, I invite everybody who's featured through the year to come in, share a piece or two, have a laugh, send out their Christmas cheer and wishes for the new year, just to farewell the year. So this year, the Goodbye 2026 show is on the 11th of December. So if you're free, I will send out a flyer and I'll put everybody who's featured on through the year. If you're free, love for you to come by and just spend a few minutes
I am.
sharing. But yeah.
I just looked at my calendar. You might have seen my pictures get a little fuzzy. I just looked at my calendar. I am free on
Beautiful.
December 11th. So
We shall
sign me up.
meet again. And I'll send you these dates in March. Otherwise, in May, if you are up for it, I'd love to continue this conversation and also showcase more of your work as well. I said it before and I'll say it again, Ray Jane. One of the most treasured gifts I take through my long journey in life so far, and what's left of it, is meeting authenticity, in meeting people of the right ilk who carry the right values, who carry the right sentiments, and who continue to fight the battle of justice. And you are every bit as anybody that I've met that I've treasured in life. Yeah, every bit of that.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I had a blast. Like, you couldn't tell me this was 2 hours because we'd have been just talking all night, child.
Now, I've got to ask you, are you still based in New York?
Yes.
Well, if I make it that way again, I was there in 22, I was there in 24. If I do get by that way again, I will let you know. I'd love to meet up with you in person.
Oh, yeah. We love to do it. Ask Jane. When people come through, we're like, so are we going to 4C and inviting everybody?
Yeah. Well,
So, yeah, just let us know.
Yeah, even when I was in Nigeria earlier this year, I went to events at like the Abuja Literary Society and went to some open. Matter of fact, the gentleman that I'm featuring in, not the next show, the one, sorry, not the third show from now, saying 6 weeks from now,
Mhm.
he's a Nigerian, and I went to a open mic that he hosts in Nigeria,
Oh,
and an absolute beautiful man, Bassi Ekpo. He's on in three shows from now. So
okay.
yeah, I love meeting people, and
Exciting.
in person.
People are fun.
Yeah.
It was lovely. I want to be respectful of, the time, and also just wanted to take a second to thank all the people who came out, just to throw love in the chat. And even if you didn't say anything, I could feel your energy. So thank you for being here with us and loving on us collectively in this room. We
Miss
appreciate you.
Miss Betty, I would love to keep going for another 2 hours, but as I was saying, unfortunately, then the video, I won't be doing it justice for the YouTube because uh, the archive does not hold much more than 2 hours, 15 minutes, and then it collapses. Otherwise, trust me, Miss Betty, I would keep going the rest of the day. You know me, I don't. I've got all the time in the world for people, especially beautiful people with the heart in the right place, particularly. But we will do it again. So Ray Jane will make a part 2 of this for sure. Um, uh,
Yes, let's
okay,
do
I'll lock in a date. Thank you ever so much. Now I will
it.
share the next day or two. I'll share you the YouTube link and the Spotify. As I said, use it any which way you like. And you're right. As I say each week to the audience, you play a most valuable part in this because without your support, without your encouragement, it's very hard for the featured guests to give off themselves. It's like looking at a wall and talking to a wall, right? So your prompts, your messages really help the featured guest to showcase more of themselves. So I'm eternally grateful for all you folks. And for 3 years, like it wouldn't be much fun if it's just me and a guest, right? But the participation in the room and all that really make it all worth it. So thank you to everybody. And it was so nice to see um, Gifted and Mr. Witz
Yay.
and Miss Betty. I've got to give you a big hug, Miss Betty. Love to you. Yep. So, Ray Jane, stay safe, my friend. Stay blessed. And we've never met, but if ever you need somebody to speak to, anybody to reach out, just always here for you, my friend. It's a pleasure to
Likewise.
people like you.
You
So.
too. You're my first Aussie friend, I think.
We're not as bad as people make it out to be. Some of us
Oh,
are.
no,
Yeah.
I'm always excited. And I love the accent. It's like fun, but I'm a nerd. I'm not hard to please.
Stay safe,
So,
stay blessed, and keep on fighting the good fight. The world needs people like you.
right on, brother. You too. Take care. Good night,
God
everybody.
bless.